I don't think that's probably going to come out of your mouth, so I'm not too worried about it.
Probably not.
All right. Hey, good evening, everybody. You are live back with the crew. And as you can all see, we have a very special guest here he and I have been a little closer as of late. But when we first contacted each other 3 years ago, I want to say there was a chemistry between he and I that I knew that this man cared a great deal about not only the people of this planet, the people of this nation, in particular the XRP Army, which we're all going to call the family now. I would love to introduce to all of you, who is no stranger, Mr. Jimmy Vallee. Jimmy, how are you doing tonight?
I'm great, Allan. Thank you for that introduction. That was super nice, super kind. Thank you.
Well, it's true, every word of it. Every word of it. So Jimmy, one of the things that we're all going through this, I don't know, what is it, 6 weeks? Are we down to like 6 weeks?
I think it was 33. You mean to the inauguration?
Yes. Yeah.
I think it was 33 days.
Okay.
Yesterday or today. So,
yeah. So do we have hours and minutes?
Down to the nuts at the time here. Well, we need to be.
Yeah, it's getting crazy out there.
I've seen some stuff today. In fact, I think it was Senator Kennedy out of Louisiana saying, go on and bring him in. I mean, Biden's not running the country, so, might as well. Yeah, let's get him doing.
Yeah, why waste time, Yeah, I totally agree. So let's backtrack just a little bit.
Sure.
Since he won the election, in a broad view, how has it really affected you, your business, and maybe even your perspective going forward of what you think where this nation's headed?
Yeah.
Well,
the most easiest thing that's affected us has been we've had a material increase, 400%, I think, initially in price of XRP, which, no one's going to kick that out of the office or anything, right? So that was certainly a nice, the Trump bump or whatever they were calling it was a real nice thing to experience. That lightened the load a little bit of certain people. It also reminds you of all the people that have kind of fallen by the wayside during this 4-year period in the abyss or in the wilderness, however you want to say it. Super optimistic about what's to come once the new administration is in office, once regulatory clarity comes to our sector. This is such a monumental economic sector that's coming about, this new digital asset class. There's going to be amazing deals. There's going to be all this stuff that we tokenize and just a bunch of really great things to do that I can see in the future. But that's all going to start with a level playing field and a clear path regulatorily to doing things like that. So I did see that there's a person who I guess is going to be the chairman, I think, of the Senate Banking Committee, who's saying they're going to get 2 bills passed really fast. And one of them is a general digital asset framework bill, which I think is going to push most digital assets into the purview of commodities and regulated by the CFTC. And then there will be some, that are securities. There will be digital asset securities, which should be pretty damn easy to define. The fact that we have been this long and the SEC hasn't done anything, Congress hasn't done anything to clarify the rules of the road is a travesty, absolute travesty. Of course, we're learning now more that maybe certain people in the federal government didn't want to see that type of regulatory clarity.
No,
they like. So super excited about that. It's even kind of hard to imagine what that's going to be like. That's going to occur. We're going to have a series of digital asset businesses that are going to go public. That's gonna bring a lot of more normal stock investor types to the sector. They're going to be learning about blockchain technology. They're going to start to wonder how they can incorporate that in their business. So incredibly bullish for what Valhill does and what we want to be doing on behalf of clients and the types of investments we want to make and things like that. But initially, it's kind of like going into the election. I had many people sit in my office absolutely petrified that Kamala Harris was going to be the next president of the United States. I mean, they were convinced because around the water cooler or at the bar or wherever they're having these conversations, look what happened in 2020, right? And so it wasn't an irrational fear that something like what happened in 2020 might just happen again. But so there wasn't a lot of capital moving, as we led up to the election. Things really, the liquidity really started to dry up, and the things that we were pursuing for sure. So now we're past that, and it's kind of a different thing. It's like, well, now we got to wait till the inauguration, right? So I'm not really seeing yet, other than what happened in the digital asset markets, and which has been great. I haven't really seen a lot of kind of normie capital unfreezing and coming back into the market and stuff like that. I think it's going to happen. We are seeing a lot of inbound calls. People are interested again in digital. I think this bear market and the people absolutely shut off their brains about what blockchain was about and this whole type of thing. So that seems like the enthusiasm for the sector and everything is back. But that's the way it's been for me. Since
it's very there. I mean, it's almost palpable, right? You almost can feel it in the air that there's optimism is back. And I don't think it's just in the crypto world. I think it's everywhere. And it's such a refreshing. I was having a conversation with a good friend of mine who owns a local business here. And the funny thing that he hit me with is I thought he was going to tear up. Now, this is 70-year-old man. And he was emotional about this. He was feeling it deep within himself as I find. Now, you have to remember, I live in the communist state of California. He and I live in an area that anyway, it's very remote, all farmers and ranchers. So you can imagine, it's quite red. But he was so emotional, Jimmy, that I was taken back. And I was like, this is a grown man who I think is about to tear up on me. Because he was saying words like, for the first time in his lifetime, he thinks he can share a world with his grandkids that he remembers, or he remembered as a young boy. And the opportunity is there again, possibly. Nothing's happened yet, obviously, as we know, but that broad optimism, you can feel it in the air. And it's not just people who voted for Trump. It's people who have a business mind, and you look at the team in which he put together and the brilliant minds that he's putting from all industry together. And it's so much different than 16 for me. 16, it's like he wanted to conquer the world by himself, and he was going to use bureaucrats to do it. Now it's like he's matured to the point where it's like, I'm going to take the brilliant business minds, leaders of this world, and I'm going to let them show the government how to do things. I just think it's such a brilliant move. And I'm sure it's going to reflect positively on our economy going forward. How could it not, to have a creative entrepreneur who understands a budget? This is just the perfect storm, if you ask me. I think it's so brilliant.
Yeah, I concur. And yeah, I mean, we as a society, we kind of stared into the abyss for the last 4 years. If you know, a lot of us, you know, follow the truther community and things that are
Sure.
happening. And there has been, you know, large movements to return us back to a constitutional republic, and whatever the consequences of that may be. And so, you know, I don't know what I would have done. I mean, we were already kind of preparing to maybe, you know, post up in Cayman Islands for a little while, or maybe move to Dubai, do something like that, which, you know, my family would have been devastating, right? You know, we're Texans. We, you know,
Yeah.
from here,
Yeah.
multi-generational. I'm 5th generation Texan. So to have to even contemplate leaving our homes, because not our state government, but our federal government has overreached into our lives so significantly, was really tough. And I don't think we could have, you know, how did we get through 4 years of it? Don't know, but we did.
Yeah.
If we'd have had to do 8, 12 year, I mean, it would have completely destroyed this country.
Yeah. I completely agree. It was such a necessity at the time it's happened.
Mhm.
Yeah. Speaking of leaving the country, I don't know how close they were, but I heard Brad Garlinghouse say more than once that they were considering leaving the U.S.
Yep.
And thankfully, I know they branched out quite a bit,
Yeah.
but I don't think they fully really took that to heart. Thank God. You know.
Well, I think they thought about it seriously.
Mhm.
And it seems like earlier in the lawsuit, you know, kind of 2021 timeframe, that was a big topic. Now, 95% of their business has been overseas. They have regulatory clarity in the Middle East. They have regulatory clarity in the UK and in Europe now, pretty much, right?
Mhm.
So the
Mhm.
United States is a big laggard. But yes, I do remember they were contemplating moving and having their headquarters be in a London or a Dubai. I think
Yeah.
Singapore or Hong Kong might have even been in the mix a little bit as well. But then they made an announcement, as I recall, and it was late 21 or early 22, where I think Chris Larson, as I recall, came out and kind of demonstratively said, "We're going to stay in San Francisco." And all of us, of course, in the marketplace speculated what that meant. You know, how was he,
Yeah.
you know, appeased or whatever to keep that? And I got to believe that, you know, somebody who knew how this was going to play out, you know, gave them assurances that for Ripple and XRP and the XRPL to become what it could be globally,
Yeah.
then they need to remain a U.S. based, you know, project or
I agree. I
and
completely agree.
now we're seeing, you know, Trump and Eric Trump has he's overseas basically saying the same thing, that there will be no taxes on U.S. Cryptocurrency projects, trades, whatever. I mean, that's you're a former trade. You still do some trading, right? I mean, that's
Oh
like,
yeah.
you got to be kidding me.
Yeah. It's quite broad yet. There's no definitive, you know, black or white on any of that, but I like the sound of all of it.
Yeah. Well, imagine this. Imagine that they even apply it to securities that are tokenized on a U.S. network.
Mentally, my head just exploded when I went down that avenue. And then I started getting into, well, why would you invest in real estate? I mean, like all of this is like, whoa, wait a minute. Do you know, you understand what that's the ramifications of, like, you don't have renters or the problem with all that. You just get to hold this and it virtually costs you nothing and you have no capital gains tax.
Yeah.
Like this would be the premier investment in America overnight.
Right.
Like,
think of all the talent, the developer talent that we have to train up, repatriate to this country. It could be for our children and our grandchildren's demographic. That could be a game-changing thing for them. Could really give them an amazing future, because we're in this tokenization of every asset is a generational project. It's kind of like, it reminds me of when we moved from paper world just into having digital records, or being able to record things digitally, or file court filings digitally and things like that. They had to, companies like LexisNexis, Westlaw, those are the big ones. There was 1,000, tiny companies that got rolled up into them over time. We actually, my family was invested in one back in the day called Law Plus, that was in Beaumont, Texas, of all places, which is like, the ass of nowhere. But we did the first digital filing of court documents. So fee pleadings and stuff. A judge, a now deceased Judge Mahaffey, was leaned into the technology and learned it up. And this is in the, in the very early 90s, mid 90s, probably, that we were doing it. It hadn't been that long.
That's right. Yeah. It wasn't that long ago.
But then you had to take, my point is, you had to take every case, every law review article, everything, that existed in a book or paper somewhere, and you had to digitize that and make it accessible through the internet. And we're about to do that again with value. And, we're in the very early innings of figuring out what that even, like, what does it mean to put title on the blockchain, as opposed to recording it in the county records. And then, so we get to have all these fun, mind-blowing conversations about dynamic NFTs, and, how they're constantly updating through API integration with, the various players in the market. And, if there's an encumbrance, a tax lien, or a mortgage or something that's put on the property, it's automatically getting updated and added to this dynamic NFT. And that becomes the thing, that token becomes the thing that is in the market, right? Represents the ownership. So for a former corporate securities lawyer like me, this is like a dream. It's like
like the paper world, right? Well, of course, banking is, I think, even so primal. It's just so ridiculously and archaic. But like the paper world would be like weeks into the process, you didn't know where the paper stopped, right? And digital's just as bad with bureaucracy. It's like, well, where did this thing stop? Right? Where are we in the process, right? Oh, well, we're still waiting on, notification from the other, digital asset collector or whoever. Blockchain's just absolutely going to say, bang, it's here. We all see it. It's open source. There it is. Deal done. This is going to change everything.
We're working with a company out of Florida, Sarasota, Florida, called Property Source. If you want to check it out, it's propertysource.app, app. The founder is a guy named Mark Cole, a very dear friend. Shout out to Mark. And he has API integrated with all of the county records in the country. So it's amazing. He's got basically a whole data set for all the things that you would need to transact on a piece of real estate. And he starts typing in the number of the address, and it gets to a certain point. Sometimes it's the number plus the first letter of the street or something like that. And all of a sudden it just fully populates in seconds the entire data set of the legal description, the meets and bounds, the survey, everything that is a part of that county record file. And it's certified by the county engineers as well. So, just just mind blowing. The type of things we're going to be doing. Hopefully, we're going to do a really big deal with them one day. But anyway, I digress.
That would be fun.
Yeah,
maybe we should go down that road, because I'm liable to ask you 5 questions you can't answer right now, or shouldn't answer.
Yeah.
So let's go back to something that you said a minute ago about evaluations and different currency, cryptocurrencies. Like everybody in my group here is pretty savvy as to XRP is really the bridge. Okay, it's a perfect bridge. And any system going forward that doesn't use it, well, evidently they haven't divulged their technology, but it's clearly the superior. It's in the lead for that use case. But you go down a deeper road of actually using XRP as an evaluation of all assets globally.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, could you go down? Could you kind of lightly go over the top of that? Because when you explain it or when you put it in document to me, it's so clear, but it's sometimes really hard for me to present to people.
Yeah.
In a nutshell, how do you come up with those calculations?
I'll do my best. The valuation paper that we worked on with a committee of people, we put that out. I want to say we published that in June of 23. It's got several different, maybe 6, I think, different approaches, valuation approaches. And then there's a couple of derivatives of some of those as well. So I think there's 12 or 13 presented in the paper. The one you're kind of alluding to is the one that I kind of worked up originally, which is called the collateralization model. And, I just I just kind of took the words that we were using about the technology. So I minored in accounting, when I was
okay,
when I went to college and stuff. And so I think when I did, my M&A deals and my securities offerings, I thought in terms of accounting and capital structure and the accounts being on, what do they call it? A ledger. You'd have a general ledger and sub ledgers and sub accounts, and they're calling this damn thing the XRP ledger, right? So I said, well, it's the general ledger, and we got to put everything, onto. We have to document that somehow on the ledger, record it, to use, the old accounting terminology. And the way we're going to do that is by tokenizing these assets and putting them on the ledger. So when you look at it from that perspective, the argument was that every asset becomes a derivative effectively of XRP, because you're going to need it. If everything is put on the ledger, you're going to need some component of XRP to push that value across the network. So everything could be denominated, if you will, in XRP. And we understood that, there's going to be gold, tokens. We knew they were going to take the cash and maybe come up with something called RLUSD, for example, and be tokenizing fiat cash and put that on we didn't know if that's what it would be called at the time, but they're going to put the cash on there too. So if we took every asset, that we could wrap our arms around, which frankly became the bigger thing, it was kind of to take it pretty simple, we tokenized every asset, put it on the ledger, and that became the numerator. And then we divided it by both the circulating supply and then all the kind of the available, but total available supply, which included everything in escrow. And that spit out a couple of different things. And we looked at this kind of in the future. We're in a different place now, right? We're after the summary judgment order that determined XRP in and of itself is not a security. We're like very, very late. I mean, the case is done, right? They're at the appellate level thing. Yeah. There was so much cognitive dissonance at the time we were doing this work and putting it out that people couldn't even envision a world where the lawsuit wasn't there. And so we purposely said, okay, because we were getting, there were people that were attacking us, I guess you could say, because we did this very publicly, right? Which was kind of a decision we made early on. It's like as we kind of come up with these things, we're going to put them out and get some feedback, positive and negative. We got a lot of negative, but people would say, oh, don't you think it's going to get to be $100? And they'd go, yeah, well, in 10 years. Okay, well, the net present value of $100 in 10 years is actually $38 and something, right? Yeah. It's like well in excess of what the trading value of this is. So we picked this 2030 date to try to get people to look up, from their computer screen, from their keyboard, and think about, okay, all this bullshit that we're dealing with now has been resolved, and this stuff it's humming, it's fully going. And then we'll just discount it back. That'll come up with a value of what we think it's worth then, and we'll just discount it back to whenever you're looking at. Just apply basic finance net present value calculations. But that's that was the approach. It's funny because that one more recently, I mean, the value of an XRP under that model. I'm going to two comments about this before.
Okay. Yeah.
Two sideways, but the value is super high. Number one. I lost my train of thought with the other point I was going to make.
You don't have to sugarcoat it.
Yeah.
It's super high. Yeah.
It was super high. That in and of itself causes its own cognitive dissonance and this type of thing. But
people can't wrap their mind around how much money is out there.
That was the other thing.
Yeah.
It was very difficult for us to do that. So I think in that model, we have like 5.3 quadrillion as kind of the baseline number of all the money, and that being every asset. Every asset, every piece of debt, the whole thing, derivatives, all that stuff.
That's right.
But really, there were major categories of things we could not. There's like clandestine programs, right, that are being sponsored by governments around the world that are off balance sheet. They're off ledger. And so we don't know. They don't report it. We don't know. They stumble out every now and then. I think even at the time we were doing it, someone like the BIS came out and said, oh, there's $87 trillion in off balance sheet liabilities that they're just missing. It's like, okay. There was another military industrial complex type thing that was $94.7 trillion that's it's missing, unaccounted for.
Yeah. I had an accountant back in 2001, 1 or 2, tell me simply, most people don't even know that there are dark pools, but the dark pool number was over a quadrillion.
Oh yeah.
At 01, 02.
We know a lot more now than we did then. A lot of it because people started giving us information because we were putting this stuff out, and they'd be like, you're a little low.
That's right. So, no, it's true. And here's the thing that a lot of people can't wrap their heads around. And I get it, because you and I, we deal with a checking account that's, it's got $5,000 in it, not 5 billion. But when you think about money in digit form, it's one of the most prolific things on the face of the planet. And that's a concept that people can't understand because they deal in scarcity in their own mind, that cognitive dissonance that you're talking about. And they're thinking, no, there's not that much money. It's really hard for me to get a job, and I have to work my tail off to make $25 an hour, Allan. You don't know what you're talking about. Well, yeah, except for when you do any research into just the derivatives market. And by the way, that's what they tell us about. Because if they really told us, well, the TV would blow up, right? They just wouldn't be able to, it's already, the trillion word is already beyond people's calculation. People can't calculate that. Exponential growth monetary exponential growth is the hardest thing for people to conceive.
Yeah.
I really believe that.
The one document that we came across was provided to us. There was a certificate done by the Committee of 300, which even if you say that, a lot of people will be like, "Oh, conspiracy theory, all this stuff."
I'm out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, this group, for whatever reason, did a certificate to the Philippine king once they kind of realized who they were. And they certified basically all of the money in all the various accounts that effectively fell under the Committee of 300. And Allan, there are numbers like in most of the numbers, well in excess of a quadrillion, well in excess of a quintillion, right? And it's in gold. And these were certified like back in, I want to say like 1967, like there was that much. And now,
right after the Korean War too, right? Weren't they into a
yeah.
lot of it? Yeah.
Mhm. And what people don't understand is that, so that's been what, almost 60 years ago now, right?
Yeah.
It's been almost 60 years. Okay. These hive, something you appreciate, these banks with the way they trade all these various, materials and derivatives and all this stuff, they're doing something like probably all in a 45% IRR a year on that money. Okay.
Yep.
So if someone just takes, one of these accounts and looks at this number that's, I don't know, 30 zeros or something, and then does a 45% IRR calculation on that one account, they're going to have to go to a home or something, right? It's like there's just not take it.
You run out of paper for the zeros eventually.
Calculator doesn't even work, right? It
just blinks at you.
Exponents and stuff on it. And you're like, what does that even mean?
So when people, this is kind of one of my pet peeves. People say, "Oh, well, one day all of the wealth, all the money will run on XRP," and I'm like, "Well, you don't even understand how big a mouthful that is." The known money, I can see that's possible for sure. Yeah, I could see where that network would need the accountability that we're all going to need. If everything, I love to say this, if AI or whatever it is, or blockchain all syncs up and everything is a math equation and it's all open source and we can tell what everything is completely decentralized and we see what everything else, all the other pools, if you will, dark pools, are not going to be allowed on this. Okay. So there's still
a theory that I've heard more than once. Yes.
That's
right.
We're
not coming to the future.
That's right. So given all of that, and we're going to just say kind of known money or known assets, what sort of evaluations, and I don't necessarily need numbers from you. I really need, what do you think the significance of it is to mankind? That if we could put the evaluation of all things on XRP, how would that benefit mankind going forward?
Like, great question. That is a great question.
Sorry, I didn't mean to stump you with that one, but yeah.
I think nirvana is that we realize that money is pervasive as oxygen and we don't really need to worry about it, right? We can kind of live the lives that, our creator put us in this three-dimensional construct to live and learn. And we don't need to stress so much for this scarcity mindset. Those issues will be more taken care of. I went through this crazy thing. I went to a retreat that was done by my good friend Matthew Hurtado up in Wisconsin, and we had one of these channelers kind of do a video thing. Channel, he channeled an extraterrestrial being,
Sure.
and then, who had a lot of wisdom, was kind of outside of our 3D time type of person. And someone asked him while we had our session with him, is this Bitcoin thing, it was a Bitcoin maxi, I guess, is this Bitcoin going to change the world, right? Is it going to be the predominant way that we, exchange value? And the response was super interesting to me. Said it
Using
will.
Bitcoin in the broad term sense.
Yeah, I think just digital money is probably the way we should think about it. And especially XRP, I think this really resonates with people, and I'll touch on that in a second. But he said it is going to change things, but it's going to be a very short amount of time that it's going to. And I think what they meant by that, there was a time, either in the past or future, when we could manifest anything we wanted, number one, or in the way we would do that, it'd be like, if I'm wandering down the road one day and it's like, I really need, I need a new car and I want it to be a Ford Mustang or whatever. I would run into Allan, and Allan would be like, I, really need some legal work done or something like that. And he'd be like, I'm willing to give you my blue Ford Mustang and that's the way we trade. Like, everyone that you came upon always had exactly what you needed, and that's how you manifest. So that's kind of what XRP does, right? It takes anything of value and turns it into anything else of value in 3 to 5 seconds. It's still a median of exchange that you and I have to give to each other. I have to give, you have to take it, vice versa. But it's just a digital token, right? I mean, what's on the other side of that? What you get physically, what I give physically, whether that be oil or gold or a vehicle or time, services, all this kind of stuff. But it if you think about it, like the way that Chandler talked about it, we are kind of going back to this instantaneous manifestation thing by using digital currency. So that's a very long-winded way to say, if we did put everything on chain, the benefit of humanity, for me, the ultimate benefit, and this may take 30, 50, 100 years to get there, is that we don't worry about money at all. We all have, available supply of whatever we need to get what we want at the time we want it.
I love that. That's a brilliant answer to a very difficult question.
Thank you.
That's wow. I was hoping we get down into the spiritual stuff maybe in our second or third call, but hey, let's just get right to it.
We're also, we got Elon. Go ahead.
I like yourself, I'm sure. I believe that man is incredibly far more powerful than we've been told we are on so many different levels. And it's been proven to me throughout my entire life. And I love your explanation of I need a service from somebody, and we can call it magically in our 3D world, but actually the entire thing is orchestrated. And what you need, if you believe that it's achievable for you, it will come to you. And this world, I think you and I at breakfast had this discussion to some degree, and I'd like to further it. I really see everybody says everything's happening so quickly now. It's really the quickening or whatever everybody like to place a label on it. But it seems to me like we have these two trains that I like to use as examples. And we talked about this, and things are happening really fast for people who are thinking negative or bad things are going to happen to them. And that fear train is really going faster and faster down the tracks. But also, I don't know if you felt this, but I felt it I can't believe that I'm about to even say this, but since the election, I can say that the other half of me, that shedding of any fear has diminished at such a degree that I'm like, it's beyond hope. It's like this knowledge of, oh, we're going to be just fine.
Mm-hmm.
Where I didn't, and I'm not just putting on the election. What I'm saying is the other train of less fear, more positivity, seeing a solution through crypto, seeing the possibilities of blockchain, seeing humanity use it for the right reasons, listening to fewer channels that tell me that AI and robotics and crypto is going to ruin the world and that we need to dig a bunker and, whatever, and be survivalists. That both those trains are going down separate tracks at a very rapid rate. And I know which train you're on, obviously, knowing you as well as I do. How do you feel about that going forward? Is it becoming more and more obvious to people, to you? Or
yes. First of all, I love that analogy. It's one that we talk about all the time. It's kind of a timeline theory type thing.
Mhm.
And to back it up just a bit, those two trains were going at roughly the same speed for a long, long time, such that we could look over at the people in the other car and didn't really notice much of a difference in what was happening with them and what was happening with us. But now you're talking about the inevitable separation where they're going to go off to what they're calling forth, and we're going off to what we're calling forth. So I'm the same. I want to say I probably started to feel more of that positive breakthrough. Maybe in the beginning of 2024, when like Larry Fink started coming out saying we're going to tokenize every security, every stock, every bond, all this stuff. I was like, yep, here we go.
Here you go.
And
Yeah.
of course, even before that, we'd had the favorable ruling in the lawsuit, things like that. So I've been pretty positive, but I tell you now, it's getting weird. Now I do feel like I'm living about 3 to 4 years in the future for a lot of people, and I'll tell you how it comes up. I traveled to, in fact, you and I were supposed to do this last Thursday, and that day I was in Tampa to do a podcast in person with somebody that's Inside Crime. I think it's Inside Crime Story. It's done by a guy named Matthew Cox, and walked in. They're like, we don't know much about crypto, so we want to talk. And I find myself, just to level set with his audience, talking about like the Bitcoin white paper, and I hadn't done, and like breaking it down to the basic level, trying to explain to someone who hasn't read it, like what it was about, what they were trying to solve, the issues, double spin problem, and things like that.
Yeah.
And I was like, I haven't had that conversation in 4 years.
Wow.
Like that. I had it years ago.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You had to have it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I haven't had that conversation at that level. It's because everyone in our world, our universe, is already way beyond that. I mean,
yeah, we've got that figured out.
Yeah. If you've been going to like XRP conferences and all the different things and movies on, rigged and all that. I mean, you are so far down this rabbit hole or timeline, you're kind of living in the future. And another thing happened I go to this place, Barnaby's, all the time here in Houston. There's several locations. There was one that was pretty close to downtown when I used to be an attorney. So I'd meet clients and friends there all the time, sometimes twice a week. It was that frequent. Well, I was in one of these Barnaby's 3 nights ago, just having a quick bite, and the waiters and the manager are behind the counter. I can hear them, and they start talking about Bitcoin, and they're like, and one of the waiters is trying to explain to the manager, what this stuff is, and he's using the word blockchain. And she's like, what does blockchain mean? He's like, I don't know. I don't know what a blockchain is. And so now they're Googling
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
word blockchain. Like, what does that
Right.
even mean?
ChatGPT. Yeah. Yeah.
ChatGPT.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
you know, I'm sitting there like, do I get into this conversation? You know, so I
No,
said,
you don't.
I wouldn't walk out of here for 3 hours, right? It's like
Right.
I didn't say anything, but the waiter did come back over and said, I heard you're spreading the gospel back over there, you know, about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, I really don't understand this stuff. But people are talking about it, right? But anyway, so yeah, we're a little bit down that one track, and
We are. But I don't know if you've noticed this. Maybe it's just that I'm blessed with the crew that I have, but it seems to be a benevolent group to me. And it seems to be a group they care about the future of mankind. It's like I've been investing since I was a junior high school. You know, I was the guy who, you know, I had the Wall Street Journal under my arm. I subscribed to it in high school, put it that way. So I've been that guy my whole life, but never have I seen a group of investors, we're going to call, because I don't believe we're speculators any longer. There's too much fundamentals out there, and it's too obvious that if you don't own the XRP, Cardano, or you know the top 5 or 10 coins, you're just not like I don't know what you're thinking. You've clearly missed investing 101. Like you've dropped the ball somehow. But for me, it's very interesting to me because at this point, at this turning time in which we're at, it's now going to go from a few people at the restaurant talking about it to I don't know how many short years from now, but a year, maybe 2, and it will just be common knowledge. And that S curve, if you will, is closer than ever before. And what are your, how do you, I see a big smile there because I know the network adoption of this is already been faster than the cell phone and many other things. And one of my, I hate when I ask too long of questions, but one of my favorite things about crypto in particular, and precious metals to some degree, but not so much in real estate, is nobody gets hurt if that bubble blows up. It doesn't affect the little man or the guy just coming out of university has to pay his loan off. And how's he going to buy a home because the bubble of real estate has blown it up to where it's beyond just shelter for mankind anymore. It is an investment. And it's like, I would love to see that go away and all that finances go into crypto because crypto doesn't have a negative effect on the youth of the world in that sense. They don't, it's not like if oil goes through the roof or electricity goes through the roof, you know, oh, shoot, I got to pay a higher bill. Or my home, I can't afford it. The kids can't afford a home today. That's the beauty of crypto. It can go bazillions and nobody gets affected negatively. Everybody can still join in. That's one of my, I've never seen an investment like it. And I've also never seen a group of people such as we are, be a benevolent group and they care about mankind with an investment product. It's not much of a question really, but I know you have an answer to all that.
Well, first of all, the smile you just, you know, talking about the S curve of growth and where we are on that. I mean, we're about to hit that inflection point. For those that don't know, you know, you basically you're on the bottom of that S, you know, and you're growing, and then at some point you fly up to maturity, and that happens very, very quickly. And I think that's where we are today, right? Is we are right before the candle is lit, and
that's right.
And that is super cool. That's why you get the big smile from me.
Yeah, isn't it beautiful the way the cream is rising to the top? I mean, seeing projects like XRP, Ripple, get to number 3 is
that always,
You knew it was inevitable.
yeah, that always happens. There was pets.com and Mark Cuban's, basketballmedia.com and all that stuff.
Right. Yeah.
That you don't know about now. There was, America Online and Napster and all the,
That's right. Yeah.
MySpace and all these, predecessors to the names, now, which are, Fortune 500, Google and Apple and, gosh, you go on and on. Facebook, Amazon. I mean, these are giant giant industrials now, right? And we're at that part where the reckoning, the tearing the wheat from the chaff is about to really start occurring. So real, utility, real business use cases, all that kind of stuff. It's one of the things that kind of drives me crazy about this meme coin business.
I know where you're going with that. Yeah.
I'm fortunate to have a lot of young, smart people around me too. And, they just get all, excited about, Hawk to a girl and all this, bullshit. I'm just like, guys, you gotta pay attention. But back to,
but remember, America spent $120 billion a year on lotto tickets.
Yeah.
So there is that.
Yeah, there's that.
It's probably not going to go away.
Yeah. Right. I mean, that's speculation, right? That is both. I don't even know if you call it's just casino gaming, I think is what you're doing with the meme coin stuff. God bless them. I know First Ledger's been making a lot of noise, and they think there's something special because they're driving transaction volume on the XRPL. But we haven't even seen what transaction volume is going to do on the XRPL until like real assets start moving on it. So kudos.
To your point earlier, when valuable assets start moving on it, exactly. It can't stay at 250.
It can't stay at 250.
No.
So I've also seen the phenomena of, it seems like a lot of good people have been attracted to this particular project. And that's really cool. I mean, it got me to this project, right? But I look back on it as a very pragmatic thing, like I bought Bitcoin and it was super slow and clunky. And here I was, a businessman, thinking, we're not going to use this.
We're not going anywhere with that. No,
I can get, a bank to confirm a wire that we've, sent the wire and the other side's received it and close a deal quicker than this stuff settled. This is like, you'd send a Bitcoin transaction. You didn't know that day sometimes
that's right.
You got the money. You'd wake up the next day and be like, let's see if, we got it, type of thing. So that's crazy. I think it's still kind of like that. So, and then you start throwing in the electricity burn and all this stuff.
Yeah.
I've toured the largest Bitcoin mining facility in the world. It happens to be here in Texas. And this is, it doesn't look or sound like the future when you start to look.
No, it is clunky. They're not going to be able to mine it. Well, I shouldn't say that. It's going to have its S curve, and I believe they're in it now, if you will. So I don't think it's going away anytime soon. However, I think it's going to be more adopted before it goes down, but it will diminish before other projects,
Bitcoin.
I don't know the future that way. I really don't. Because I like proof of work a lot.
Okay.
I do. I understand it and I like it. And I like that there is a physical electrical commodity attached to it. I do appreciate that about it. And electricity is ridiculously overpriced. People are thieves in the electrical. I mean, we can make electricity for virtually nothing. So,
that's crazy. Can we get back to the crazy ideas? Just today, I was wandering around at the house, and I was thinking about these satellites that SpaceX has been shooting up there to do the SpaceX network, right?
Right.
And I think I'd seen an ad here in the past 48 hours from Elon basically saying, get your SpaceX thing. He was talking about maybe New Zealand, if you got your cell phone on the SpaceX, it's not SpaceX, it's what's the it's the net,
Starlink.
Starlink. There
That's
you go.
what we're on right now, by the way. Well,
Okay.
that's what this is. Yeah, I'm on Starlink. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay. I see.
Uh-huh.
So there you are, 5 years ahead of me in the future. But I got to thinking, because one of the big challenges and this is the old oil and gas guy speaking about this. One of the big challenges to the adoption of EVs has been the distribution center system, right? And that
Yeah.
it takes a long time. You got to pull over, charge your battery, maybe, I don't know, take an hour or something if you're on empty to get it back up, or 40 minutes, whatever.
Yeah.
And that just, that sucks in comparison to be able to pull up at the pump and, your 3 minutes, your tank's full, you're off and going.
Yeah.
But it got me thinking, it's like the way we charge our phones, we just charge them all the time, right?
Yeah, that's right.
ABC, just always be charging. What if there is, we already know that Tesla had some technology to pull electricity straight out of the ether.
Yeah.
And what if there's something about these Starlink systems being able to communicate electricity to where you don't really have to be charging, like pull over and charge. You're just kind of charging all the time. That would be pretty cool.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not unlike, we have a Tesla.
Okay.
Yeah, my wife and I just bought it. We bought it because we're off grid.
Okay.
And to go to the gas station from my house to go to the gas station and back is a quarter tank of fuel.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so like I have a solar panel dedicated for the car.
Okay.
So I wake up, I don't have a gas bill on that vehicle anymore.
Yep.
So for me, it's virtually free to drive
Right.
the vehicle. I mean, it just makes a lot of sense to have one.
Sure it does.
And I really appreciate the man more. The more I study the man, I didn't know what to think of Elon 5 years ago, but I really love what he did with Twitter X.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
So
just having
I
that
think he's,
conversation with a guy at the gym. He was like, yeah, can you believe we wouldn't have? I forget how he got talking about it. I was like, I was looking at a thing on Twitter. He's like, you're on Twitter? I guess if you're over a certain age, you're not expected that you can have a Twitter account, right? So, of course, I'm on Twitter. How are you going to get the news?
how do I know what I'm supposed to be today? Yeah. Right. So the thing about, I don't know if you've heard this, but the beautiful thing about Starlink, what he's doing is, I believe it's called the Fi phone, but he's talking about creating phones for less than $100 that do everything your phone does now, and virtually connecting to Starlink one day for free. And then just imagine what that's going to do for no provider in between you and I, when you and I want to trade our coins or our crypto across from person to person. We won't need an exchange and no. You can imagine where all that's going. Talk about freedom for mankind. It's going to be a pretty incredible day. And I'm so looking forward to it.
Yep. And it's all about the micro payments. They talk about bringing the unbanked into the banking platform. We did kind of 2020, 2021. We were doing a lot of business in Africa. We were doing some gold mining. We were importing cocoa beans into the US from Africa. And the cocoa bean farmer is not like they don't have a bank account. They don't use electricity, right? But they have a phone, and they trade in mobile minutes is like their currency.
Yeah.
So it's that type of now imagine, and to these people, $3 a day, they would feel like Rockefeller. I mean, they make
Yeah.
like $1 a day.
$1 a day. Yeah.
And cutting out all these middlemen in their distribution system and in their payment system, and being able to have like a firm like ours deal directly with them, they go up to like $3 a day, $5 a day. Now they have all this like excess money. So now you got this guy who, 10 years ago, all he had was this mobile phone in minutes. He'd have to get on a bicycle with some bags and like ride them down to the nearest town where there's a warehouse. You could throw the beans in there. And now he's doing deals and buying, fractions of Amazon tokenized stock and, all this craze, like he's a little Warren Buffett or something, could be amazing.
I love it. Absolutely love it. Yeah, that's just like, there's so much as far as technology where we're going. I don't know if you've messed around with lately with DeFi, but I've really been playing around with it again. And if we could get that legislated, or let's say a little more secure, if you would, it's pretty amazing. It's pretty simple to make 1% to 3% monthly on your money.
Yeah.
And just imagine what that would mean to those people, or any people for that matter, because everybody in this group right here probably has $100,000 worth of XRP, right? So, I mean,
that's great.
Right. So now
you got a good crew.
At 2% monthly, it's $2,000 a month to you.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
it beats a sharp stick in the eye.
Right. Yeah. Right. I mean, it's like we potentially are living in a different world already, but it's going to really be up to great men like yourself and others to explain this to people, because like you say, I get on a lot of business calls, and I'm the guy that has to explain the white paper to everybody still today. And I find it it's not irritating, because I know it's growth, and I know it's my mission in life at this point. I kind of have to be that guy. And people call me a cheerleader all the time. But I don't mind being the cheerleader, but I love being the coach. And I like to draw up plays. I want to talk about where we're going and why we're getting there and how to get there and what to do with it. That's why when I meet up with people like yourself and all the people that, go to the conventions that you and I attend, it's just unbelievable to be able to share idea and creativity with everybody. And it's so much fun. I don't mind bringing the bottom up. I really don't. I think it's really important that we all do. And I say this on my channel all the time, and I really mean it. It's so important that we treat all other coins equally. And I'm not a huge NFT guy, and I'm not a huge meme guy. But other than that, I respect whatever technology that you're trying, or solution you're trying to fill for mankind. Yeah, I just respect it for whatever it is.
NFTs aren't. That's the bubble we went through with NFTs in 21 was the least valuable use case for NFTs.
Yeah.
It maybe was great as a gateway drug of getting people interested in what we refer to as digital. But the real use case for NFTs is, title documents, securities, all these types of things are going to be embedded and tokenized into NFTs. That's the use case. That's the killer app use case for those types of tokens.
The word fungible is the key of NFT.
Here's another area where, kind of the Ethgate thing that occurred was a real disservice, I believe, to the capital markets, because you basically set forth since 2017, 2018, you set a whole industry off on the wrong foot by trying to avoid at all costs the securities laws, instead of leaning into the securities laws and just doing. Now, unfortunately, and even to this day, if you were to get Gary Gensler in a headlock, or and be like, give him a noogie or something and say, tell me exactly how to do an S1 public offering for tokenized security, he couldn't tell you how to do it. They have no rules to do it, all that stuff. This, like, come in and talk to us, come in and register stuff has been the biggest bullshit, red herring, smoke screen, maybe ever in the history of the capital markets.
A common thief knows not to talk to the police without his attorney.
Exactly.
Right? Like, will you just walk in there and tell them your game plan? Come on.
It would have been so easy for them to do, right? It's sad that so the government really, really messed this market up, and the Ethereum, what has kind of manifested as Ethgate, the way we talk about it, really did a disservice to the financial markets and the adoption of.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
So let me ask you. Let's say they're going to reverse that. Okay. It's going to be a bit of a rubber band or a slingshot effect, isn't it? Aren't we going to go from minus 50 to beyond zero quite rapidly, because we now have a government maybe that's in support of it and it's going to do everything possible? What do you think?
We certainly could. I think that's what the Trump administration sees as the potential opportunity. There's reversing it. It's reversing what, it looks like the Digital Chamber of Commerce has put out something like an advisory to the incoming SEC chairman saying, basically, just ignore that whole Hinman speech thing. Disavow, I think, is the word. Disavow the Hinman speech. Yeah. Act like it never happened type of thing. And that's not good either, right? I mean, that there needs to be some acknowledgement and some compensation, something, restitution paid to the people who were impacted by what occurred. And it was devastating. And I think it was in the trillions of dollars of damages, like big time damages. And then I think once you do that, yes, you can have real rules of the road. We're kind of level set back to zero. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that. Trump just released some report recently where he holds $15 million in Ethereum. And
he just bought a bunch, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't fault anybody that holds Ethereum. It's just, it's kind of like, well, if you're making money, 2 degrees off, two steps down the road from human trafficking, are you not involved in human trafficking? So
I agree.
Yeah. And I don't think Ethereum has to go away. But the consensus in JP Morgan and others probably need to be hit pretty hard by conspiring to do what they did and front run the market with Ethereum. And there needs to be some compensation to, I think, XRP token holders. And think of all the people who didn't make it this far, right? Our firm and our family is way down on the XRP holdings we held, right around the lawsuit. It was discussed at one time we were the largest retail holder of XRP in the world. And, could have been. We're not anymore. And, there was a lot of things that we had hoped to do with business investing, humanitarian projects, all kinds of stuff that, depending on what happens, we may still do some of that, but who knows, but there's also people who've lost it all, because it sat at 30 cents for years, then 50 cents, year and a half, whatever, and just kind of grinded away, delisted from all the exchanges and all that stuff.
Well,
Anyway,
okay. Well, no, I love this. I don't know how much time you have for us here tonight, but I love this line. So, well, you're a securities attorney to some degree, correct?
mhm.
What sort of precedents, that's the wrong way to ask the question. What are the damages on a layman's terms? How achievable are they to anyone? Because I'm with you. I know many people that could not hang on and
Mhm.
they sold it 40,
Mhm.
50 cents
Mhm.
and they got in at 70.
Mhm. Yeah.
A lot of these people. And, I talk to them all the time. I talk to my crew a lot. So,
Well, yeah, an
what,
easy way
what do
to
you think?
discuss it is that both Bitcoin and Ethereum 3x their all-time highs from the 2017-2018 bull run in the 2021 bull run. So, that they 3x. XRP did not. XRP has not returned to its all-time high from 2017, 2018
That's right.
to
Yeah.
this very day. And solely because of the federal government's action. So at a minimum, I think you're looking at they should have it should have 3x'd, and you're looking like at 11. It's like $11.50, something like that it would have been, maybe $12 that
Okay.
would have gone to, just if it tracked the same trajectory as the other two blue chip, which clearly were its competitive
Oh,
projects.
yeah. Yeah.
Then you can look at it more like, we looked at it from the valuation committee standpoint, and it's a try, and if it achieved its ultimate intended use case, which it may never achieve because this issue happened. I mean, and what I mean by that, do you know how many developers have developed dApps on Ethereum? I mean, it's in the millions of developers who
Yeah.
have been for the past 6 years developing projects on Ethereum solely because they thought it was not a security, right? And
No,
wasn't
that's right.
the
Yeah.
securities laws. And all that talent was not developing similar types of things.
Yeah.
Now you have some people who have gone out and developed some things. We've certainly been trying to, but that same momentum. So you got to kind of, okay, if that same type of talent would have been available and it just would have competed in the free market, say they only had 50% of the developers, that the Ethereum had 50%, the XRPL had 50%, and then it was going towards its ultimate intended use case, which is to move all the money. What would the value have gotten to then? And then you're looking at numbers like what's in our valuation paper, which I think goes from something like $9.81 all the way to the largest, like over $500,000 a coin. So,
Yeah.
and I think that the mean is something like 12,000 to 22,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. That's massive. So let's go conservative with that. Is there any way that we could get our $12 back
Yeah.
and not have to sell our coins?
Well, yeah, this is so, we live in an evolving world, right?
Right.
And the facts, we know more now than we knew back then. It doesn't seem like we should have to sell the tokens to do it. There needs to be more like a price set and some type of check written to the people who were damaged. So
Agreed.
I think, yeah, I mean, I think you could do those couple of things. I mean, we kick around the idea of delivering to Kash Patel, the day he is confirmed to be the head of the FBI and running essentially the Department of Justice, a document that explains in detail, the Ethgate phenomena, the Ripple lawsuit, and all that stuff. Fortunately, now we've got like great letters like that Empower Oversight has written to Congress, laying out pretty good detail what happened with Ethgate, fully documented, fully footnoted, all this type of stuff. You've got our damages model that we could throw in there. You've got things like interrogatories that we were presenting to all of the people that participated in crafting the Hinman speech or got a copy of it within the SEC, who've all gone on to Cush, big law, paying jobs and all this kind of stuff since then. So, the Trump administration has shown a willingness to look at these issues in other sectors. That's why Congress just tried to float this kind of get out of jail free card in this bill that they were trying to push through at the last minute, right?
It's not going to fly, right?
It sure shouldn't. But if the mainstream or the people who were not necessarily in the digital asset world appreciated that this was just yet another version of the same thing that was done at the border, at political persecution through the IRS, on and on and on and on, of a government just gone completely out of control. I think there could be a nice chorus of voices that ask for that to be done with a friendly administration on the other side to do the deal.
Oh, I completely agree, and I think they seem to want to show the books, and they want to expose the corruption of government. And how can that not be healthy for you and I? Clearly, it's not going to go well for them. I have my own opinions about who controls a lot of those people. Without getting too deeply into it, the City of London and Europe have a lot of control over our country, in particular our politics. And it just seems to me, to anybody that's not completely blind, that they have not been acting in the betterment of all U.S. citizens in every country for that matter, but in particular, in my view, they've done what's best for them or some committee or organization that they want to filter money into some investigation in some place that doesn't even mean anything. And if you ask me, it smells of, laundering of money and many other things. That's pretty clear that they've been filtering funds out of Washington and not for the betterment of mankind, including in particular American mankind. And I was really, in the last 2 or 3 years, since I started my channel almost 4 years ago now, I really noticed that the big game changer in my lifetime has been social media.
Yes.
And it really can hold the public opinion in the true, honest court of law, if you will. It's almost like it's like become a social vigilante. It's like, we're going to take this guy out because this guy, look, here's the documents. This is what this guy voted on. He's never voted for you, and the first step was Elon with Twitter, clearly. I mean, and thankfully those people seem to be on the citizen side for the first time, maybe in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And exposing the media for truly who they are, which is bought and sold. Yeah. Well, I love the work you're doing, Jimmy. I've had you long enough. I'm way over time with you, and I appreciate every minute I get with you.
It's been a great chat. I appreciate it as well.
Yeah, thank you. It's I know my group really appreciates everything that you've done for all of us.
Thank you.
And the hard work that not just you and Molly, and I'm sure many other people, but I was taken, I have to talk about this because Molly may watch this video. I was so taken by her last video.
It was great.
I watched it twice. It twice. And I don't even watch YouTube. Somebody sent it to me and said, Allan, you've got to listen to what Molly's talking about in here. And I'm not going to say that I've had death threats, but people have been very threatening to people like yourself and Molly and myself. and it's only ignorance that they don't understand what's truly in your heart and Molly's heart.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully, I've gotten to meet you both on a private level, and I know what you believe in, and I know who you care for, and it's all of mankind. It's not, you're not in this to get rich or betterment yourself. And it's kind of crazy that people think, oh, well, Elon and Trump are just trying to get rich. Allan and Jimmy are just trying to get rich off this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what's in our hearts.
Mm-mm.
And if you think that, well, you must be on that other train.
You could be.
I'm just guessing. Yeah, you're on the wrong train. Maybe get off in the next stop. That would be great. All right, Jimmy, I thank you so much. And tell Molly we said hello.
I certainly will.
We love you so much, and all the work that you guys do, and so hard with very little avail. I know you guys do a lot in the background, and I know it's only just begun what you're going to do for us all.
Amen.
Okay. All right.
Thanks for having me.
How can people get a hold of you if that's what you would like them to do?
Yeah, probably the best way to be more involved with Valhill is we have something called the Vault on the Valhill Advisors side. We're in a process of completely revamping all of our website infrastructure, but you can go to valhilladvisors.io. So that's VALHIL advisors.io. Poke around on that. There's something called the Vault. You can sign up, become a member. We meet with our, membership pretty much monthly. We just had a call with them yesterday. And then we put all of our thought leadership content, our infographics, a lot of the podcasts and videos that we do, we put in there as well. So that's probably the best thing to do to establish more of a direct connection.
Okay, fantastic. All right. Again, Jimmy, we all thank you so much, and we will see you again soon.
Sounds
I hope.